Elias Vance, a young man who preferred the glow of a screen to the harsh glare of day, found his true home in the digital depths of the internet. He was a creature of the night, drawn to the hushed hum of online communities that thrived while the rest of the world slept. His new apartment, a cheap, dimly lit sanctuary, echoed with the quiet click of his keyboard, a stark contrast to the cacophony of the city outside. His sole companion was Twig, a peculiar hairless cat, whose unusual appearance often sparked strange conversations. Elias sustained himself through online odd jobs, reviewing products he'd never seen and filling out surveys on topics he knew nothing about. His internet connection was freely pirated from a careless neighbor, a small rebellion in his otherwise disconnected existence. He embraced his nocturnal schedule, finding freedom in the quiet hours when the world was less demanding, less filled with normal people he struggled to understand. It was during these solitary nights that he stumbled upon Nocturnal Underground, a forum for like-minded recluses. The community was small, tight-knit, and surprisingly welcoming, a perfect haven for someone who felt so out of step with society. Elias felt a rare sense of belonging, believing he had finally found his niche. He had no idea the true cost of this newfound freedom, or the sinister invitation that awaited him in the shadows of the internet. Life for Elias settled into a comfortable, if unusual, rhythm. His nocturnal existence suited him, the internet offering a more vibrant and intriguing landscape after midnight. Then, one evening, a mysterious private message arrived on Nocturnal Underground. It was from a user named Cypher66666, a name that instantly sent a shiver down his spine. The message was an invitation, a cryptic promise of something that would change your life forever. It spoke of a hidden website called Everwake, a place where one could discover what society doesn't want you to know. An exclusive invitation. Code was provided, making Elias feel, for a fleeting moment, uniquely chosen. Despite a nagging sense of unease, his curiosity, a powerful force that often overshadowed his better judgment, got the best of him. He clicked the link, the digital portal opening to an unknown realm. The website, Everwake, was a jarring sight, rudimentary and unsettling. Its black background and stark white text, set in a generic courier font, resembled a corrupted notepad document more than a professional web page. All the text, save for the title, was in Russian, forcing Elias's browser to translate. The site claimed to offer a miraculous secret formula, a pill called Everwake that could safely negate the biological necessity of sleep. The promise was audacious. 1 pill a day, and he would never feel the need to sleep again. Elias, despite his skepticism, explored further, clicking on a hyperlink labeled Secrets. This led him to a page detailing Everwake's rare, undisclosed ingredients, which were distributed through alternative means. He then clicked Credits and was met with a chilling black and white photograph. It showed a tall, gaunt man in a doctor's coat, his eyes pale and lifeless, devoid of emotion. Below the photo, text identified him as Dr. Azazel Thorne, credited as the pioneer of Everwake and proxy of our master. Thorne was described as the founder of the Ukrainian Institute of Occult Medicine. The mention of an occult institute and a master sent a wave of unease through Elias. The price of the pills was equally absurd, $130 per pill. Convinced it was a scam or some bizarre cult initiative, Elias closed the site, shaking off the unsettling encounter. The encounter with Everwake lingered in Elias's mind. He decided to post a thread on Nocturnal Underground, seeking answers about Cypher6666 and the strange website. He copied the mysterious message into his post, hoping for insights from the community. Users like Cosmic Trashbin and B3457W4RF4R3 quickly responded, expressing disbelief and caution. They warned of viruses and scams, urging Elias to avoid the site. Interestingly, no one else recognized Cypher6666 in the forum's database, and attempts by others to access Everwake failed, resulting in invalid IP errors. This raised a chilling possibility. Was the site somehow linked only to Elias? He shared screenshots of the disturbing website, further fueling the skepticism and alarm among his online friends. Cosmic Trash Bin even speculated about keyloggers and cyanide-laced pills. The thread descended into playful chaos, but Elias dismissed the serious warnings. He assured them he wouldn't purchase the pills, especially at such an exorbitant price. Later, an admin named H.G. Wishingwells messaged Elias, confirming that Cipher 6666 did not exist in their database. The admin suggested that the mail client must have been bypassed, implying a hack specifically to send Elias these messages. This revelation deeply unnerved Elias, adding another layer of unsettling mystery to the Everwake phenomenon. A few days later, Elias, driven by a lingering unease and a desperate need for answers, attempted to research Everwakes again. His Google searches yielded little more than irrelevant YouTube channels and defunct band pages. However, he eventually stumbled upon an old gaming forum thread that referenced Everwake. A user there claimed to have taken Everwake pills to play a medieval strategy game 24 hours a day, boasting of an irrefutable proof in his excessively high in-game score. The user also shared a link to Everwake, which, like Elias's experience, was IP-locked and required the same exclusive invitation code. The gaming community, predictably, dismissed the claims as bot abuse, and the user's account was promptly banned. Elias found no other relevant information, concluding that the dealers were either incredibly stealthy or that the whole thing was an elaborate long-running prank. Still, the unyielding curiosity gnawed at him. When Cipher 6666 sent him another message, identical to the first, Elias's resistance crumbled. This time, the link led to a page asking for his address. Knowing the malicious intent was likely, but desperate to understand their true motives, Elias provided his P.O. box address, calculating that the worst they could send was junk mail or faulty pills. He just needed to know what they wanted from him. Days later, Elias's friend Jake delivered his mail, a service Elias often bartered for to avoid leaving his apartment. Among the usual bills and junk mail was an unmarked envelope, ancient and stained, as if unearthed from a forgotten tomb. Elias immediately knew its origin. Inside, a smaller old manila envelope bore the stamped word, Everwake, and a cryptic instruction to store it in a cool, dark place for maximum potency. With trembling hands, Elias opened it. Inside lay 30 crude black pills, far from the polished appearance of pharmaceutical products. He had no intention of taking them, not yet, at least. He needed more information. The realization hit him. The dealers weren't trying to scam him out of money. They had sent the pills themselves. But why? His unsettling encounter with Everwake and its implied connection to occult practices propelled him to research the figure behind it. Dr. Azazel Thorne. Elias discovered a Wikipedia article detailing Thorne's chilling past. He was a Ukrainian alchemist and physician, notorious for claiming involvement in experiments depicted in a 1940 motion picture. Soviet research into the resuscitation of clinically dead organisms, including a dog's decapitated head kept alive by a machine. The article described Thorne's gruesome human experiments, conducted illegally, but with the consent of his test subjects, obtained through bribery. He was imprisoned for life and later executed after lost footage of his morbid experiments surfaced. Thorne was also rumored to have pioneered various cures that were deemed occult in nature and unverifiable. Thousands were allegedly cured between 1930 and 1940, but attempts to replicate his remedies failed. The article concluded that Thorne still had a following to this day, and that mysterious emails and offers related to his work were still being practiced and peddled from Russia and Ukraine. This information unsettled Elias profoundly. The very offers that supposedly didn't exist beyond hearsay had found their way to him. Was he truly selected for a gift too great for the masses? Was this the change to his life they had promised? Holding one of the black pills in his hand, Elias stood at a precipice. He knew the risks, the inherent danger of ingesting an unknown substance from a mysterious, possibly sinister source. Yet, a powerful, almost intoxicating blend of curiosity and a dark, reckless defiance propelled him forward. His life, he rationalized, had little to lose. He needed to understand the motives behind this bizarre offering to uncover the secrets of Everwake. There was only one way to find out. With a deep breath, he swallowed the pill. The transformation was not immediate, but when it came, it was profound. 3 days passed, and Elias felt no trace of fatigue. His mind was sharper, more focused than it had ever been. A surge of exhilarating energy coursed through him. A sensation he hadn't known was possible. The claim of never needing to sleep again, once dismissed as an absurd lie, now seemed a terrifying reality. Days stretched into weeks, each one a testament to the pill's power. Elias continued his hyper-focused online work, amassing a small fortune in virtual assets and poker winnings. His mind, once clouded, now possessed an intuitive grasp of numbers, a clarity he'd never experienced. They were right, he mused. This really is changing my life. But the change wasn't entirely benevolent. The incessant light, once merely an annoyance, now bothered him intensely. He taped cardboard over his window, retreating further into his self-made nocturnal world. At night, a pervasive feeling of being watched crept in, amplifying his anxiety. He'd dismiss it as his own distorted reflection, a trick of the mind in the cheap glass. Yet, the feeling persisted, a cold, unseen gaze. One night, as he took his daily pill, a detail he'd missed before caught his eye. A symbol stamped on the inside of the manila envelope. It was a downward-pointing pentagram with what appeared to be a goat's head inscribed within it. The image haunted him. He knew he had seen it before, but couldn't place it. The unsettling feeling intensified, a cold dread seeping into his newfound wakefulness. Elias, disturbed by the symbol he found, mentioned it casually to one of his few remaining online followers. The response was immediate and chilling. The emblem was a satanic symbol. A jolt of terror, cold and sharp, shot through him. The realization that he had been ingesting pills associated with such dark, occult imagery was horrifying. He immediately decided to stop taking them. He cursed himself for not noticing sooner, for allowing such a sinister influence into his life. He promised himself he would quit tomorrow, even though he felt perfectly fine. It's just a symbol, he tried to rationalize. Probably a printing mistake. But the thought was flimsy, unable to quell the rising tide of fear. He wanted no part in demonic affairs, no matter how good he felt. The decision was made. He would stop. He had to. Elias's resolve to quit the pills was quickly shattered. That night, as the clock ticked past his usual dosage time, a blinding headache seized him. It began as a dull ache, then intensified into a throbbing torment that rendered him incapable of thought. He tried to resist, to endure the pain, convinced it was merely his body adjusting to the sudden absence of Everwake. But after an hour of agonizing suffering, he couldn't take it anymore. He took another pill. The relief was instantaneous, the pain vanishing as quickly as it had appeared. A terrifying thought began to take root. He wasn't just choosing to take the pills, he needed them. He rationalized his dependence, telling himself there was no reason to stop. He was energized, focused, and free from the burden of sleep. Why would he want to give that up? He had to stop being irrational, he told himself. But deep down, a chilling realization solidified. He was trapped. Elias's descent into madness accelerated, each day blurring into a terrifying, sleepless eternity. His mind, once sharp, now fractured, making it impossible to distinguish between reality and the grotesque nightmares that bled into his waking hours. He began hearing voices, whispers at first, then growing into malevolent choruses that echoed in his skull. They were insidious, twisting his thoughts, driving him deeper into paranoia and isolation. He struggled to recognize himself, fearing the emergence of a sadistic, true self he never knew existed. His once trusted online friends vanished from his contacts, their concern replaced by an eerie silence. Food supplies dwindled, forcing him to resort to eating his cat's food. a desperate act that filled him with shame and a growing sense of desperation. He even found himself forgetting his computer login passwords, unable to recall where he'd written them down, his memory crumbling along with his sanity. One night, his TV, constantly on to ward off the oppressive silence, showed a children's program. Bucko's Garden, a show he remembered from childhood, turned into a horrifying spectacle of anthropomorphic cranberries, a pumpkin pie made by birds, gravy from a cow, and then, inexplicably, Bucko, a deer-like character, pulling out a razor-sharp knife and cutting into a roasted human fetus. The gore was too much, even for him. He turned off the TV, but the image was seared into his mind. He hadn't slept in 15 days. He knew he wasn't dreaming. The reality was horrifying. He tried to visit Everwake again, hoping to find information about side effects, but the domain was gone, the site shut down. The voices intensified, becoming his constant companions, their horrifying suggestions no longer seeming so horrific. He was numb, devoid of emotion, save for one nagging thought. He needed to feel again. The voices told him how. The voices within Elias's head intensified, a cacophony of whispers and screams that warped his perceptions. He paced his apartment, a caged animal, the shadows seeming to writhe and watch him from every corner. The bathroom, once a private space, became a place of profound terror after he saw a demonic entity standing behind him in the mirror. He now used the kitchen sink, too afraid to enter the bathroom again. The thought that the pills were responsible for his terrifying decline solidified. Yet he found himself unable to stop. An unseen force, a voice distinct from the others, compelled him to continue, warning that his life would fall apart if he ceased. He was adrift, unable to imagine a life beyond his darkened apartment, beyond the constant torment of his mind. His cat, Twig, grew gaunt from his desperate rationing of food. Thanksgiving approached, and no one invited him. Not even his family, whom he now despised. The voices became his friends, the demons, his confidants, their horrifying suggestions taking on a twisted appeal. He felt numb, except for a growing, unnatural hunger. Twig was gone. Elias had done it. He had to know what it tasted like. The act had been satisfying, but the hunger, that insatiable, unnatural craving, only intensified. He knew he had to leave his apartment, a place that had become both sanctuary and prison. The faces he saw, the voices he heard were growing angry, demanding more. His head throbbed with excruciating pain, a torment that could only be appeased by more. They needed more. He needed more. He had to make it stop. He had to feed them. The cycle was complete, the transformation irreversible. On Thanksgiving Day, November 27, 2014, a frantic 911 call from Margaret Vance, Elias's mother, brought police to his apartment. They found a scene of unimaginable horror. Paul Vance, Elias's father, was found in the process of being mauled and cannibalized by Elias, his face and mouth smeared with blood and brain matter. Elias was shot dead when he refused to stop. A subsequent investigation of the apartment on November 29th revealed a gruesome tableau. A headless, disemboweled cat carcass on the kitchen counter, its blood splattered throughout the home, its brain missing. The apartment was a foul, unsanitary den, clearly inhabited by a person who had descended into complete insanity. An old television in the corner, displaying only static, had no antenna. A suspicious packet of unidentified black pills was recovered. Elias's computer and personal effects were confiscated for analysis. On December 4th, the autopsy report for Elias Vance was released. His digestive tract contained a disturbing mixture of human tissue, mostly brain matter. Even more perplexing was the state of his own brain. It was visibly deteriorating, black and red, riddled with holes. Microscopic examination revealed thousands of small black parasites consuming the brain, the undeniable cause of his insidious psychosis. Testing on these parasites was inconclusive. They matched no known species. The pills recovered from Elias's apartment were found to contain a vile plethora of uncommon substances, including highly addictive euphoric drugs, human hormones, and parasitic eggs, presumably meant to remain dormant until introduced into the body, where they would hatch and invade the brain. The report concluded with an unsettling ambiguity. How Elias acquired the pills and their origin remained unclear, but the malicious intent of their concoctors was beyond doubt. On December 6th, Elias Vance's friends, Jake Fairfax and Douglas Lopez, were questioned by police. They directed investigators to Elias's online blog, where he had allegedly documented his terrifying descent into madness. However, the blog had mysteriously vanished from the internet, its digital footprint erased. They also confirmed Elias's claims about the unknown pills, stating they originated from a website called Everwake. Like the blog, the website had also disappeared, leaving no trace. The story of Elias Vance became a chilling testament to the unseen dangers lurking in the digital shadows, a cautionary tale whispered among those who dared to seek forbidden knowledge. The source of the pills, the insidious parasites, and the true nature of Everwake remained an unsolved mystery, swallowed by the darkness from which they came.